Every night, we take the same journey. We close our eyes, turn off the lights, and cross the threshold of familiar reality. We think falling asleep is a simple flick of a switch. A second ago, we were awake, and now we're asleep. But in reality, the transition to sleep is a complex and sometimes quite dramatic process. It's a gray area, a borderland where our consciousness loses control, but our body still clings to reality. And it's at this juncture between two worlds that our brain begins to experience the strangest glitches and malfunctions. You've probably felt it, a sudden fall, when the ground drops out from under your feet and you jerk sharply as if you've missed a step in a fantasy dream. The illusion of weightlessness, when your body suddenly loses weight and you begin to float above your bed. Phantom sounds, from someone whispering your name to a deafening but painless explosion right inside your head. In ancient times, people believed that at these moments, night demons visited us or that our soul temporarily left the body. Today, science knows the truth. All these strange, frightening, and sometimes wonderful sensations are nothing more than a communication check of our nervous system. These are moments when the internal biological clock is off by a second, and the brain tries to decipher the confusion in its own signals. In this video, we'll take a look behind the scenes of our subconscious. We'll examine 10 amazing phenomena that occur on the border between sleep and wakefulness, from sleep paralysis to false awakenings. And we'll understand how our brain constructs reality when we disconnect from the outside world. Fasten your seatbelts. We're heading deep into the illusions of the night. The Hypnic Jerk. This is that sudden, involuntary twitch that makes you feel like you've just tripped or missed a step in a dream. It usually happens right as you're drifting off and your muscles begin to relax deeply. Scientists believe this is a misfire between the nerves that control movement and the part of the brain that keeps you still during sleep. Historically, some researchers suggested it was an evolutionary leftover from when our ancestors slept in trees, serving as a primitive reflex to keep us from falling. It matters because it's a sign that your body is transitioning between consciousness and sleep, often triggered by high stress or too much caffeine. Exploding head syndrome. Despite the intense name, this is a painless phenomenon where a person hears a loud imaginary noise like a gunshot or a cymbal crash just before sleep. It stems from a sensory hiccup in the brain's reticular formation, which is responsible for filtering out unnecessary information. Instead of shutting down the auditory neurons for the night, the brain fires them all at once in a single, harmless burst. It differs from a dream because it feels incredibly real and external, often causing a brief spike in heart rate. Understanding it helps reduce the anxiety it causes. As many people worry, it's a sign of a neurological issue when it is actually a common sensory glitch. Sleep paralysis. This occurs when you wake up but find your body is completely unable to move or speak for a few seconds or minutes. It happens because your brain hasn't quite switched off the muscle atonia that prevents you from acting out your dreams during REM sleep. Throughout history, various cultures attributed this to supernatural visitors or hags sitting on the chest, though we now know it's simply a timing error in the sleep-wake cycle. It is a significant experience because it reveals the chemical mechanism the body uses to protect itself while dreaming. The falling sensation. This is distinct from a twitch and feels more like the ground has suddenly vanished beneath you. It is often linked to the inner ear's vestibular system, which helps you maintain your sense of balance. As your heart rate slows and your body temperature drops, The brain can occasionally misinterpret these signals as a loss of physical stability. It matters because it demonstrates how closely our sense of space and gravity is tied to our physical state, even when we are lying perfectly still. Sleep starts. These are rhythmic, pulsing sensations that can feel like a gentle swaying or a recurring vibration in the limbs. They are generally considered a mild form of myoclonus, which is the same category of muscle movement as a hiccup. Unlike the aggressive hypnic jerk, these are much softer and often go unnoticed by the sleeper. They represent the nervous system testing the lines as it shifts from active motor control to the passive state of rest. Auditory sleep onset hallucinations. You might hear your name being called or a faint strain of music playing in an empty room during this stage. These are brief, vivid fragments of sound produced by the brain as it begins to generate its own internal environment for dreaming. They are unique because they happen while you are technically still awake and aware of your surroundings. These hallucinations show the overlap between reality and the imagination, proving that the dream state doesn't just start instantly, but bleeds into our final moments of wakefulness. The floating sensation. Many people report feeling as though they are hovering a few inches above their mattress, or drifting like a buoy in water. This is a result of sensory deprivation. When the brain stops receiving constant tactile feedback from the limbs, it loses track of the body's exact position in space. Without the usual signals of pressure and weight, the mind fills in the gaps with a feeling of weightlessness. It is a common experience among those who practice deep relaxation techniques and marks the point where the mind has successfully detached from external stimuli. Sleep talking. Formerly known as somniloquy, this involves vocalizing words or sounds without any conscious awareness of doing so. It can happen during any stage of sleep, though it is most common during the lighter phases, when the transition between deep rest and waking is more fluid. It differs from other sensations because it involves the activation of the vocal cords rather than just a mental perception. It matters as a look into the internal monologue that continues even when the conscious self has gone offline for the night. False awakenings. This is the vivid sensation of waking up, getting out of bed, and starting your morning routine, only to realize you are still fast asleep. These are essentially dreams about the process of waking up, occurring when the brain is in a state of high arousal during REM sleep. They are structurally different from standard dreams because they are hyper-realistic and centered on mundane, daily environments. These experiences highlight how much our brain relies on habit and routine to construct its version of reality. The sensation of growing or shrinking. Often referred to as a Macrocosm-Microcosm feeling, this involves perceiving your hands, feet, or the room itself as being unnaturally large or small. It is a distortion of the body schema, the internal map the brain uses to understand the physical self. When the eyes are closed and the body is still, the brain can lose its sense of scale, leading to these temporary and harmless shifts in perception. It is a fascinating example of how the mind's internal proportions are not fixed, but are constantly being recalculated based on sensory input. That's all. Bye-bye.